Welcome to episode 86 of From the Shed Ends with myself, T.Dot. Theo, how you doing?
Not bad, thanks. Glad it's Friday. But just finished up my lunch and I dropped 3 eggs in the kitchen floor. And if anyone's ever cooked and dropped eggs on a kitchen floor, you know how messy it is to clean afterwards. So it's kind of a bit of a spanner in the works of my Friday. But otherwise, I'm good. Champions League draw could have been better, could have been worse, if I'm honest. But we'll take it. We'll talk about that in a minute. How are you doing?
I'm good like you. Friday, sun shining, start of a weekend again. I don't know what it's like there. You didn't look very happy to see the sun shining, but it's proper sunny. It's almost like a summer's day here. Like it's proper sunny and still cold, but I'll take the sun at the moment. But no, apart from that, I'm good. Looking forward to a big game. Got international break coming up, which I'm not too happy about. I don't really like international football, but we'll get onto all of that before we get out of this episode. If you're new to the channel, please go and subscribe to it. Make sure you give this channel and the video a thumbs up, and also hit the Linktree link in the description. That will take you to all our podcast episodes, our social accounts as well. We're doing quite well on the social front, but in terms of algorithm, in terms of subscribers, we need to get that up. I think we're on 300 and something at the moment, so please make sure you can subscribe to the channel. But let's go straight into it. Like I said before we started recording, a lot has happened this week, so I'm giving you the light. The moment is yours to talk about Leicester. I really can't remember the game, if I'm honest. It was, it's been a while. But what was your thoughts about Leicester? I mean, we spoke about it in the preview on the last episode. It was not a must win, but we wanted to see more consistency from the team, and we did get that. But what was your thoughts on Leicester?
Yeah, like you said, it was a good. Just over 6 or 7 days ago now, so I'm going to try and remember how the game went. But it was a solid win. I mean, 3 wins in a row now. First time we've scored 3 goals since October, if I'm not mistaken, and our first away win in all competitions since October again. So on paper, it seems like we've definitely picked up some momentum, and the scoreline, I think, was good, and I think we were the better team over the 90 minutes for sure. We started off well. I think we had the better chances in those opening couple minutes, and then Ben Chilwell. It had to be Ben Chilwell, brilliant goal. And we know that this formation that we play with really kind of allows Ben Chilwell to venture up the pitch and offer his support to the more offensive players. And he loved the celebrations as well. He was getting abuse and boos throughout the game. So I think it was about time he shut up the Leicester fans, especially after scoring that disallowed one in the FA Cup back in 2021. Again, though, I think there's still some similar problems that were not clinical enough. I'm looking at that Felix chance that he had when he hit the post. A lot of times players were offside. I think it was Havertz, Madrid, and Felix as well at one point. They all scored, but offside. Shame that we had to concede a goal before the half-time, but great response from Enzo and Havertz. I think that was the moment of the game, really. That Enzo ball that just floated over the Leicester defence and found Havertz. And even Havertz, I felt he was shocked. He almost felt like that was too easy for him to score that goal, and he didn't really know if he should celebrate or not, thinking that maybe VAR would intervene once again. But yeah, that Enzo ball was fantastic. It really was. It was like something maybe a Toni Kroos or Cesc Fabregas would do. So I think he's really growing and becoming a really fantastic player. And we're quickly forgetting about that hefty price tag we paid for him, given how good he's been in his performances lately. Second half, we responded really well, I felt. I think first minute of the second half, Fofana scored that. Fofana had that chance from similar to the one he scored against Leeds. It was a header from a corner, and I think Danny Ward produced a decent save, but it would have been almost too good to be true had Ben Chilwell and Wesley Fofana scored against their former club. And then, Kovac got his goal as the captain and Madrid got his assist. So all in all, it was a decent day. One thing I'd like to point out is I thought the ref was poor, really, really poor.
100%.
I think we were destroying the ref on WhatsApp. Ricardo Pereira, red card for me, red card all day. Studs really high up, João Felix ankle, that's a potential leg breaker. And we saw Casemiro produce a similar tackle against Southampton and get sent off. So where's the consistency? There's none. And then I think it was our good friend, who I think is a massive prick, Amate. I'm trying to be polite. And he just literally puts his studs up on Havertz's chest and again escapes without a booking. VAR doesn't even look at it, so no consistency once again. But Leicester got a second yellow for Wesley Fass in the second half, but I feel the game was over by then for them. But yeah, they could have easily finished the game with 8 men at the end of it. But yeah, like I said, 3 wins in a row, 3 points, that's what matters, 3 goals as well. And I really hope now we can carry this momentum into the Everton game tomorrow, but also beyond the international break when I think it's our first game after that is Aston Villa on the 1st of April.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think it was a good time to play Leicester. I mean, they've obviously found a bit of form themselves, but they didn't start the season as well as they would have liked to have done. But I was impressed. I was impressed with the lineup. I thought it was good to see the same sort of lineup that we had. Obviously, Reece James was out because of injury, and Loftus-Cheek came in and filled that void. Done really well. I was really impressed with him at right wing back as well. It was a game that I think we had to. I mean, I would have been surprised if we didn't come away with 3 points. And as the game went on, I mean, like you said, Ben Chilwell, Wesley Fofana were being given shit from the Leicester fans throughout that game. And I think, Chilwell was well within his rights to go over to the fans and cup his ears and, shut them up a little bit. And he took his goal really well. If you think about the goal itself and the fact that, the ball comes in. I can't remember who lost the ball over from that side. Was it Koulibaly? And it almost, I think Ward almost thinks Chilwell's going to try and pull that back into the box as opposed to shoot. To get beaten at his near post, he wasn't really set up to save the goal. But it was still a brilliant. I mean, the technique from Chilwell to do that was still good, and I was really impressed with him. And it's something we have missed this season with him. But overall, you look at Enzo Fernandez, you look at Mudryk, and the one thing that I've been crying out for, especially since Potter took over in September, was it? When he took over, was consistency. A bit of consistency, a bit of togetherness about this squad, and we saw that. We got to see it against Leicester. It was such a brilliant performance, and even with some of the players that have been out, Sterling didn't play in that game. Mason Mount hasn't featured in that game as well, in terms of starting the game. So I was really impressed with the goals. Even Kovacic getting on. I mean, Kovacic's goal is not easy. It's not an easy goal to score, sort of on the half volley the way that he did. And he doesn't score easy goals. You look at some of the goals that he scored for Chelsea, they're all quite special and unique. So I was impressed with just overall performance. I was impressed with the subs from Graham Potter. I thought he got them right, the right time in terms of the subs. I think Carney Chukwuemeka came on, Conor Gallagher, Badia Shield, Trevor Chalobah, and Christian Pulisic. They all made sense in terms of seeing the game out, shutting off the space down the wide sides for Leicester. It just made complete sense, and I feel like Graham Potter's slowly getting this team working the way he wants them to work and getting the team to gel together. It was going to take time. It is still taking time, but you can see slowly there's bits. I mean, like you said, the pass from Fernandes to Kai Havertz was, I mean, if that was, I don't know, Neymar and Messi, it probably would have been plastered across the internet the whole weekend. But we are sort of seeing the qualities that Enzo can have, especially when he's playing slightly forward. I know there was times where he got a bit more forward into those roles and that space in front of, behind Kai Havertz. He can produce those sort of passes, and I think we have to utilize that a bit more. So I was really impressed. I was impressed with start to end subs, Potter, team. Shut the fans up at Leicester, because I think they were really giving Fofana more so stick as well. Andre Mariner, absolute idiot. I don't know how. And the worst thing was, I think he was the VAR for the United game as well. So he was it was obviously Anthony Taylor, our best friend as well, refereeing the game for United, and Andre Mariner was in the VAR. He shouldn't be in that game against United because he got 2 massive errors in the Leicester game. How on earth you can't? I mean, João Felix is definitely a red card. The Havertz lifts up his shirt. You can see the mark that has been left. It's almost an assault. I mean, I don't want to be dramatic or anything. I know it's Friday. We want to enjoy our weekends, but it's if I walk down the street and I'm doing a school run in a couple of hours and I fly kick someone in the stomach, I mean, I'm sure someone's going to try and call the police on me. So I'm just confused as to how you can do it on the football pitch and not even get a red card. bizarre. I don't get it. So, like you say, 3 points is the main thing. Unfortunate not to get a clean sheet. I think Kepa again was outstanding throughout that game. Really good performance from him. So I was a bit disappointed that we didn't get a clean sheet. Triple clean sheets would have been nice, but look, we're slowly making progress, which is the main thing. I think we have to be happy about that.
Yeah, big Kepa save. I forgot to mention that. I think it was from Maddison. After they picked up a bit of momentum after their goal. Leicester did have their chances, though. Let's not deny it. I think it was Gallagher clearing it off the line in the second half.
Yep.
Drewsbury Hall at one point scuffing a shot. So they did have their chances. So it's not all in all perfect. I think there's still points that Chelsea could improve on defensively. But like you said, maybe without that kind of solid presence of Thiago Silva, we'll take it 3-1 away to Leicester. Some big Kepa saves, and looked like every time we were going up the pitch, we looked dangerous on the counter. We looked dangerous. We looked like we were going to score. Mudryk as well, I thought was really good. Unlucky for his goal to be flagged offside. Felix maybe at fault for the Chelsea goal, but overall I thought he was brilliant, and he likes to take on players as well. Just don't do that around the Chelsea penalty box. That's the one thing I'd ask.
You don't have the time and space.
No. That's what I tell my players on five-a-side. Do your dribbles, but not in front of the penalty box. Yeah.
That's just to save you, though, isn't it? To be fair.
Yeah. I'm sure Kepa tells his players the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think he does. I think you mentioned it on the last episode. He's a lot more vocal now, in terms of the goal, being a goalkeeper and being vocal to his defenders, to the outfield players as well. So I think we'll see a lot more of that. But let's talk about the Champions League draw that took place this morning, 11 a.m. I'm gutted I missed it because I love watching the draw. But Real Madrid over 2 legs. We've been here before. Deja vu. It's happening all over again. It could have been a nicer draw. We could have got a nicer, a Benfica, a Porto. But we didn't. We got Real Madrid, who are in very scintillating form at the moment. But what's your thoughts on the draw? What's your thoughts on Real Madrid? I don't know if you got to see what they did to Liverpool over 2 legs, but they are a scary team to play. So what's your thoughts on the draw?
Well, football's a funny one. You don't play a team for over 20 years or so. I think it was since the Cup Winners' Cup, I think in the late 90s, 23 years, 98. And now we've played Real Madrid 3 seasons in a row, semi-finals of 2021, quarterfinals last season, and quarterfinals again this season. It's a tricky fixture. Like you said, it could have been the draw could have been more in our favour. We could have maybe drawn one of the Milan clubs or Benfica. But no, we're playing Real Madrid. I think it could have been harder than Madrid. It could have been Bayern, Napoli or City, which in my opinion would have been harder. But like you said, Madrid looked very good against Liverpool, especially in that first leg. They just took their chances. They were clinical. They were ruthless. They scored 5 at Anfield. And then that same Liverpool squad beat United 7-0. So it goes to show how good Madrid were on the day, I suppose, and how clinical and ruthless. I'm expecting tough game, really, really 2 tough fixtures. We know that Madrid team, they've got those midfield maestros in Kroos and Modric. Modric, I think, is 37, 38 now, but he's still playing like he's in his prime, in his late 20s. Valverde as well, very exciting player for them. And they've got our good friends, Hazard, Courtois, but especially Tony Rudiger, who I really think looks solid at defence and was a big loss for us in the summer. I'm expecting 2 very tough games. I think it's the away leg first at the Santiago Bernabeu on the 11th or the 12th of April. I'm not sure yet if we know the exact dates.
We've got them.
Is it a Tuesday or the Wednesday?
Yeah, so we're on the Wednesday, and then our return leg is Tuesday the 18th.
It would have been nice maybe to combine a trip to Madrid with the Easter Monday bank holiday.
But use some annual leave now.
Exactly, maybe if I get a ticket, yeah. But yeah, it will be a nice. I mean, it will be a difficult game, but I think we've got what we need in a squad to match Madrid's level. I'm really confident we can, especially if we play like the level we've shown against Borussia Dortmund. And one thing I like to point out of this Chelsea side and our mentality is, you look at Tottenham against AC Milan, they needed a goal, they didn't get it. You look at Liverpool at the Bernabeu, they needed 3 goals, they didn't get a single one. But you look at Chelsea against Dortmund, we needed 2 goals and we got the job done and we got the 2 goals. So I think it shows that difference in mentality of the players, the way the team is set up to actually, mount that comeback. All we have to do is look at the Chelsea team last season. Sure, we were managed by Thomas Tuchel, but we trailed 3-1 after the first leg and we took the game to extra time in the second leg and we 3-1 Mount. Rudiger and Timo Werner getting the goals. So I think it'll be a really interesting game. I think what's even more interesting is our potential opponents in the semis. Should we get past Real Madrid, this is when it gets very, very tricky and interesting. Obviously, Bayern Munich or Man City in the potential semi-final, which is lined up for us. So like I said, the draw could have been a lot kinder to us, but we'll take it. And you've got to beat the best to win the Champions League, in my opinion. You can only play what's in front of you. So yeah, really tricky game. I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely make the home leg, and I'll try to make the away trip to Madrid if I can.
No, I agree. I think it's. I always think with the Champions League and any knockout football, it's who wants it more. Who wants to? Who's willing to leave everything out there on the night or over the two legs, and we've always had tricky runs when we've or run-ins to the final when we've gone on to win the Champions League. We've always never had it easy. You think back to the first time with John Terry being sent off and that night in Barcelona. You think back to us being the underdogs, and even going back at Atletico, that game that we had to play when we won it in Porto as well. So we've always never really had an easy run-in, so to speak, whatever that is, interpret that how you want. But I think, for me, I think this is, I agree with you, like for like, you look at some of the players, obviously Vinicius Junior is a key player for Real Madrid, Benzema as well, like you said, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric and Antonio Rudiger. They've got players, but so have we. We're not Chesterfield FC, we've got a really good squad. And we've got players that can come in who are experienced to an extent at this level, playing in finals, playing in big games. And I think we can do it. I'm not worried. I'd be more worried if we were playing Bayern. I can't remember if they were on I don't remember if they were on our list as potentials, but I think they were. So I'd be more worried to play them in the quarters than in the semis. But it's who wants it on the night. Like you said, we've got a really good squad. It is going to be difficult. I think I'd rather have liked the home leg first as opposed to going back. But, they have... I watched them over two legs against Liverpool. And I think had Liverpool been playing the football that they had been under Jurgen Klopp, 2 or 3 seasons ago, I think they would have won and beaten Real Madrid over those two legs. I just don't think they have that midfield to be able to cope with that. But we do. We have Reece James, who's there now. We've got Sterling. Hopefully we'll have N'Golo Kante back at that point as well. Kepa's in his finest form at the moment. We've got Enzo Fernandez now in midfield, Mudryk. We've got luxury going forward, Mudryk, Sterling, Havertz, Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher.
Silva might be fit again, hopefully.
Silva will be fit. So, there's so many options for Graham Potter to choose from. You did obviously flag up a big concern around the games that we have amongst the two legs, which I'm going to pull up now. And I look at that fixture list and I do think, he says, when he hasn't actually got it here. Here it is. So we've got, obviously, here's one I made earlier. So we've got Aston Villa, Liverpool, Wolves. We then play Real Madrid away. We've got Brighton. Then we play Real Madrid at home. Then we've got United after that, which is a massive game. Brentford and then Arsenal. So 9 games in April. It's congested again, like last season. Massive games coming up, not just in terms of the Premier League, but you look at those games in and around the Real Madrid fixtures, Liverpool, then Wolves, before we go to Spain. You look at Brighton, how they dealt with us at the Amex. You don't want Graham Potter to see another 4-0 or 4-1 defeat. Then Real Madrid, and then after that United. So there's going to have to be a lot of rotation, I think, in April. We're going to need a fully fit squad. I'm going to have to heavily rely on the players that are qualified to play in the Champions League to do a job. But I'm confident. I'm confident. I can't go into a knockout tournament and say that we're the underdogs or we're going to lose. I just can't do that. So I'm looking forward to it. And just a little stat here for you as well. We've only lost 1 in our 7 games against Real Madrid in European competitions. That defeat came 2021, 2022 quarterfinal where we lost 3-1. So we have not got the shabbiest of records against Real Madrid. They are there for the taking, like any team in knockout football. So we have to be confident. And I think over the 2 legs, what worries me more if we get through, I can see Bayern Munich doing Man City. So I think if we can get into the semis, I think that will be the most difficult game of our season. For, over the last couple of seasons, Bayern Munich, because they're a really good team.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Like you said, our record against Madrid is very good. One defeat out of 7 games we played against them, and I think that's the lowest loss percentage of a team that's played more than 7 games against Madrid in European competition. So they really do struggle against us. But I can just echo what you said. It's going to be a tough April, very congested fixture list. Brighton in between those 2 Madrid fixtures for me is going to be so important, because you kind of think maybe ourselves with Brighton at that point in time will be fighting for top 6, hopefully. And it's going to be almost going to feel like a must win. So having a fully fit squad in April is going to be so important. Rotation as well. We see now that Cucurella can do the job in the back 3. Hopefully Silva will be fit again. Fofana's playing really well. Kante will be back as well. Hopefully he can stay fit. Madrid's finding some form as well. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting April. Going to be similar to the April we had last year with those Madrid quarterfinals as well. And I think we even had FA Cup fixtures this time last year as well. But yeah, it's going to be a question of who wants it more on the night. Graham Potter's game plan needs to be on point. It needs to be exactly like the one he executed against Borussia Dortmund last week in the Champions League quarterfinals, round of 16, sorry. But yeah, very interesting fixture. And I do kind of think if we do get past Madrid and somehow we play whoever it is, City or Bayern, the winner of that semi-final is going to win the Champions League for me. I know that Napoli on the other side of the draw are, in the form of their life, but just that momentum that can carry you past, whether it be Chelsea, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Man City, the quality in those 4 squads is just ridiculous. And I think it will just be too much for Napoli or one of the Milan clubs or Benfica in the final.
No, I'd have to agree. Another stat as well. I think this is the first time Napoli have got this far in the Champions League. And I think, I can't remember the last time there was 3 Italian teams this far into the tournament either. I think this is...
Yeah.
It's probably...
I think early 2000s, I think, because I think it was an all-Italian final, I think 2003, between Milan and Juventus. I'm sure it would have been that season. Yeah. And I think there was a inter-AC final, late 2000s as well. So yeah, good. I mean, good to see that Serie A clubs are doing well. But given that all 3 of them are on one side of the draw, you won't get an all-Italian final this year.
No, I agree. Sticking with European football to an extent, we're expanding out to the world now. There are plans, I think, early this week to change the format of the Club World Cup to allow 32 teams as opposed to, I think is it currently 17 tournament, I think, at the moment. So there's plans which were in place before COVID hit. So these plans have not just been rustled up in someone's office over the last 4 to 6 weeks. This has been something, I think, in the making for some time, but obviously COVID has delayed that. So there's plans now, I think, that should have been introduced in 2021. They're trying to implement it for 2025 to allow for 32 places to be included into the Club World Cup. So theoretically, based on those assumptions, I think it would allow 12 teams from Europe, 6 from South America, 4 from Asia, 4 from Africa, 4 from North America, and you get the host nation and then Oceania as well. So 1 from there as well. So what's your thoughts on that, first of all, the format changing? Does it seem more around money? Is that what we're doing? Sponsorships, more sponsorships, a new format? Or is it just that it allows more people the opportunity to win the Club World Cup?
Yeah, I think they're trying to make it more into a spectacle, that's for sure. The fact it's being played in June, July, which is those typical World Cup, international World Cups, summer months. And we know now that every summer we either get the Euros, the World Cup, the Confederations Cup, and now it's going to be the Club World Cup. Yeah. So it's going to be a sporting competition every summer for the next 4 years. 32 teams, that's a lot. That's a lot of teams. And you do wonder now if it's going to be the same kind of format as an actual World Cup with 8 groups of 4 teams, or if it's kind of those. Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be more work for the players. June, July, that's usually the period where these Premier League footballers go to their Ibifas, their Mykonos, their south of France's, and no, they're not going to be able to do that. They're going to have to carry on the Marbellas, exactly. Yeah. So they're going to have to carry on the training, and for me, the fact if you win the Champions League, you qualify for this, it's quite prestigious. And it's the UEFA Champions League winners from 2021, 22, 23 and 24. So Chelsea automatically qualify. So we'll be seeing Chelsea in this Club World Cup format in June 2025, which is good, I think. It's probably what Bowley wants to see. Bowley probably wants to have this Chelsea team compete in every tournament. And from a revenue perspective as well, we're not going to be in Champions League next season. I doubt we will. So if this is going to be a form of revenue, television rights as well, it's brilliant as well. Because if I'm honest, I know we were all into that Club World Cup last February in Abu Dhabi, but that's only because our team was in it. I was speaking to all my other mates, and they were like, "I don't watch it." I know they're mainly Arsenal fans. So I completely understand why they wouldn't watch any European or international club tournaments. But yeah, it just seems like that one that if your team's in it, you really root for them, but you won't really watch it. Like, I don't think I bothered watching the Madrid, I forgot who they played this season, Atletico Mineiro or something like that final this year.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to attract more viewers, which means more money. It's going to be interesting, but like I said, if you want to think of the welfare of the players, you do need to be careful, because you need to give these players a bit of a break. And if it wraps up around July time, that means that pre-season will be pushed back for these players by another month or so to give them time to recover, which probably means they only get back to training early August. And early August is usually when you have your first Premier League fixture. So we do have to consider that as well. So it's going to be quite tiring for the players, but from a fan point of view, it's more football to watch in the summer, especially. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence. I think, I agree with a lot of what you've said. I think for me, it's more, do we need to expand it? I mean, I like sometimes don't change things if it doesn't need changing. And I think this is more maybe, like you said, to make it more of a spectacular, to make it more of a mini World Cup. But on the second side as well, it's just a trial for how a Super League potentially could be run. Obviously not with the teams that are involved, but is this something that they could, are they trialing this for a Super League format of some sort? But look, I mean, when your team, I'm moaning about it now, but if when we eventually are in it in 2025, I want us to win it. So, I think it's more football, like you said. It's something, fans can look forward to, and it might actually draw more people into watching it. I mean, like you said, unless your team's in it, you don't really have an invested interest into it. So I think for me, it's a 50-50. I think it's more about FIFA trying to generate as much money as possible. And like you said, get more people into stadiums or watching as viewers on TV rights, etc. But I also think as well, I like the format as it is, because you only get into that tournament if you win the Champions League, and I know all the teams that will be involved have done that. But it's such a almost like the pinnacle of your season. If you can win that, you are the world champions. It's like something that's, to see 32 teams in it would be a bit odd for me, maybe for the first one. And I need to read up how that would work going forward as well. So is it just a constant rolling thing? So for instance, is it a yearly thing still? So if it is, I need to understand the format a bit more, I think, because how would it work in, say, 2 years' time? Do you just, who qualifies for it in 2 years' time? Is it still like a rolling thing where, whoever was in 2021 drops off and it's 22, 23, 24, and 25? Or I don't know. So I need to read up about it properly. But from what I have read, it does sound like a good thing. A lot more teams involved, a lot more money. Like you said, get more people watching it. So if we're in it, I need us to win it. If we're not in it, then, I'm just there as a spectator. But something to keep an eye on, see how that pans out. But let's keep it more international, more worldwide, because the international squads were announced yesterday, or I think most of them were announced yesterday. But massive call up for Wesley Fofana, his first cap for France. Couple of additions for England in terms of Conor Gallagher, Mason Mount, Reece James. I think Raheem Sterling's missed out due to injury. And I think you said Madueke has been called up to the England under-21 squad. So a couple of good additions there. But I want to start on Fofana, who I think, well within his right, deserves his call up. But what's your thoughts on Fofana being called up to the France national team?
Yeah, really deserved. He's been fantastic since his return from that injury, and then the second injury he picked up in that behind closed doors friendly with Brentford during the winter break. Yeah. So I think it's completely deserved. And you look now at, I think it was Raphael Varane that retired from international football recently. So that leaves a bit of a void in the Didier Deschamps' French team. I think Fofana is the perfect player to fill that void. So I think that's completely deserved. I'm almost surprised that he was never called up earlier, if I'm honest, because when he had that kind of run of form with Leicester, you maybe would have thought he would have got picked for those Nations League qualifiers or games, those friendlies that probably France had before the World Cup. I know that he struggled with fitness and injury as well, but I think that's brilliant for him. And he's really kind of stepped up now recently, so I'm really pleased for him. In regards to the other players you've mentioned, I've just seen now Mason Mount is actually not fit to play against Everton tomorrow, and he's actually pulled out the England squad, I think. So he won't play a part in any of the matches that England have. I think it's against Italy and Ukraine. And then another call-up, which I've just seen, is Kepa being called back to the Spain squad, which, again, I think is really deserved, because I don't think Spain really have a fixed goalkeeper at the moment. We know that, I don't think it's Luis Enrique anymore, their manager, but they haven't really favoured De Gea. I think Unai Simon, who's their number one, hasn't featured for Athletic Bilbao with injury recently. So that leaves them maybe with David Raya, Kepa, and I think the other option is Robert Sanchez from Brighton. So I think with Kepa's form recently, and especially having wear the armband when Cover's gone off as a sub, goes to show that he's the perfect player to fill in now. So I'm really hoping he gets some minutes with Spain, and good for his confidence as well. Not that he needs it at the moment, but really good. But yeah, I think really deserved call-ups for Kepa and Fofana. For those England ones you mentioned, I'm pleased for all those players. Obviously, Sterling misses out with injury, but I do really hope Reece James doesn't get played too much, and we kind of Southgate manages his minutes correctly, because obviously he didn't feature against Leicester last Saturday. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky one, and these aren't really the type of games you want to risk Reece James for 90 minutes. So I'm really hoping Potter maybe has a word with Southgate to manage his minutes. And the other two players, Gallagher and Chilwell. Again, Chilwell for me is really deserved. Gallagher's maybe struggled with minutes, but we know that Southgate has his favourites. All you have to do is look at Phillips and Maguire being called up, having hardly kicked the ball this season, and it says a lot. So yeah, Southgate's clearly got his favourites, and he probably wants to stick with that core group of players he had at the World Cup. So that explains the Gallagher call-up as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I was a bit shocked when I saw Conor Gallagher's name, because he hasn't really played that much football, and neither has Calvin Phillips as well. So I'm going to be selfish, and I don't really want to see Chelsea players playing international football at the moment. I mean, you know, there's the whole thing with N'Golo Kante. Whenever he went on international duty, you know, he'd always get injured, and I don't want Reece James to be the new N'Golo Kante when he goes abroad and he, you know, picks up injuries for England. I still think he has been rushed back. I think Reece James isn't fully fit still. I think he's obviously clearly not if he's injured for Leicester. But I think, you know, overall, I don't think his fitness levels are where they need to be. So, you know, the old days, you know, some of the managers would make a phone call to the England gaffer and say, look, just make him withdraw. And I know Liverpool have definitely done that with Trent a few times, or some of the other players that they've had. And you do wonder sometimes, you know, can Potter not just make the quick call to Gareth and say, look, you know, take Kyle Walker, or you know, take Trent. Oh, because I think Trent's missed out. On the you know, rightfully so. I think he shouldn't be in there. But you know, I'd love to see him go, just so that we can wrap Reece James in cotton wool and just maybe give him some light training to do over that period. But you know, Kepa, I agree with. I think really good call it for him. I think, you know, I don't really watch much Spanish football anymore, and obviously De Gea I do, and but national team I don't. But I think Kepa is a really good goalkeeper for us. He's been really solid this season, and deserves to be playing if he's going to be, you know, the number one for Spain at the moment. So, and Wesley Fofana, you know, I think it makes sense now, like you said, with Varane retiring from international. You know, it's a gap to fill, and I think Fofana providing as well that he can get through these two games. I think it is for international on international duty. He can get through them without any injuries, because I think it'd be a shame to lose him, you know, again to an injury. You know, we want to try and get our squad back from these international breaks in full, you know, no injuries, full fitness, and crack on with the busy April that we've just spoken about. So. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird time to have. I always think it's a weird time to have international football. You know, this sort of last hurdle of the Premier League and, you know, European competitions, I still think it's so weird. Let's just play them in the summer. Let's just get them all. Let's just do a mini, forget the Club World Cup going to 32 teams. Let's just do an international qualifying tournament and get all the qualifiers out of the way, mini tournament, and get it done in 2 weeks. I just think, you know, to lose someone key, Reece James, Kepa, you know, I think Thiago Silva and Aspia haven't been called up to their squads. I think they're still out as well for tomorrow's game. So, you know, I think it shows there's a lot of football to be played and has been played. And, you know, you don't want to lose anyone who's key at this point in the season. But congratulations to all of them. Obviously, Madueke as well being called up to the under-21 squad. And I'm sure there's other players that we haven't mentioned that have probably been called up to their respective nations as well. So, you know, hopefully everyone comes back fully fit from that. But Mendy, we talk about injuries. Let's talk about Mendy coming back. I didn't realise it. Was it 4? It's been out for 4 months. Is that right? Did I read that right yesterday morning?
I think so, yeah. I think he fractured his finger early January time. So he hasn't featured for a good 3 months now. And I think his last game for Chelsea would it have been before the World Cup? Yeah, there's fixtures before the World Cup. And so, it's been a little while since we've seen Mendy, and I'm not going to lie, we can't forget that he's in the squad this season because it goes to show how good Kepa's been to keep him out, but also he's struggled. Both keepers have struggled with injuries at times as well. So good to see him back in training, though. Like you mentioned, big fixtures in April. Obviously, only 2 competitions to play for now in the Premier League and the Champions League, so you can't afford to rotate too much. You want maybe your best keeper to retain his spot, and that best keeper needs to be good with his feet. That's how Potter likes to play from the back, and that should be Kepa. But there will definitely be more injuries, and something we're seeing a lot more now in football is keepers getting injured. It used to be like your keeper be able to play 5-6 seasons in a row, but now we're seeing a lot more keepers getting injured. So good to have him back in training, and also just for him as well. I'm sure he missed the kind of routine of waking up, going to training, having the ball in his hands, catching it. And when you have a broken finger, you can't do that. Glad to have him back, but I don't think that changes Potter's decision on who his starting keeper should be.
You know, I think you're right. You know, I think Kepa, like I just said, has been really good this season, and it was unfortunate for Mendy to get the injury he did when he got it at that period in back end of last year. You know, I think it gave Kepa that chance to prove to Graham Potter, especially that he's, you know, the one that we should have in between the sticks. And like you said, you know, out of the 2, Kepa or Mendy, you do feel a bit more comfortable when Kepa's got the ball at his feet as opposed to Mendy. And, you know, he does have those brain fog moments, Mendy, a lot. He done that a lot last season. I do question has he got a role to play at Chelsea? I know Slelina has been doing really well for the development squad lately as well, and I think he's someone that for the fee, I think it was probably around 8 million overall that we've paid for him. I think he's one for the future, and I think he looks really good. You know, I've watched him a few times for the development squad, and he's a good goalkeeper. Again, very good with his distribution, good with his feet as well. So I think he's a good goalkeeper, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, Mendy, yes, we'll see out the rest of this season, potentially even be here, you know, the first part of next season. But I do think if he doesn't, you know, come back and he's not able to, you know, force his way back beyond Kepa, or there's an injury to Kepa or something happens to Kepa, I do think he has to almost admit defeat that he will be, you know, classed as the number 2 goalkeeper at Chelsea, regardless of the very good form that he had, Champions League and Club World Cup. You know, he has to now look at Kepa's form and appreciate it and just maybe sit down and you know, it's good to see him back in training, but I just don't see where he fits into the squad at the moment with Kepa being so good. And Slelina being really good in the development squad. I think he'll have a massive role to play next season. So it does look very glim and dark for Mendy, unfortunately, at the moment, in terms of how does he get back into the squad, or does he even have a future at the club as well?
Yeah, it's a good headache, though, having 2 very good goalkeepers to choose from, because obviously injuries do happen and you don't want to be calling or having to rely on someone like, I don't know, disrespect him, but Bettinelli, is he good enough to be our second choice in, you know, these big games? I think there's a Champions League game against Atletico Madrid where Petr Cech went off injured and we had to play Mark Schwarzer. Not that Mark Schwarzer's not a good goalkeeper, but I think the level of Chelsea now, you do want a very good goalkeeper you can rely on in these big games. I think it's going to be tricky for Mendy. He's got to accept the situation and maybe for him and his agent assess the options in the summer as well.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I'm sure there'll be clubs coming in for him as well. I think 100%. So we'll have to see how that pans out. Everton.
Something's just before we talk about Everton, something's just popped up on my phone. Do you remember
Oh
what
God.
Hazard put up on Instagram when he left Chelsea?
Oh man.
I've got it here. I'll read it
I do and I
out.
don't. I do and I don't. But go for it.
He put, Chelsea fans will always be special to me, and next season I will look for your results first. I hope that we are drawn against each other in the Champions League next season and every season so we can meet again. A visionary. He called it. He knew the script already. 3 seasons in a row of meeting Eden Hazard again.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because I was speaking about Hazard just quickly. I was speaking about Hazard early this week because obviously he wants to see out his time at Real Madrid. I think he's settled there. His family's settled there. His son, I think, has just joined the Real Madrid youth team or the juniors. So I think he's really settled there. But it's just a shame that he doesn't really play as much football as he should be, potentially still playing. And that's been down to injuries. And obviously Carlo Ancelotti has other ideas for, the likes of Vinicius Junior, Rodrigo, and other players that are playing there. Valverde, I think, plays on the right side as well. So it's a shame for him, but who knows? I mean, he might get a run out. He might get an applause from the Stamford Bridge faithful on the return leg of the Champions League. But let's talk about Everton before we before I nearly do a Graham Potter and say beat Everton in the Champions League. But Everton's a tough team to play. I mean, home or away, Goodison or Stamford Bridge, they're always a difficult team to come up against. And Sean Dyche has clearly got them playing some better football than Frank Lampard had them playing, or maybe it's the new manager bounce that you tend to get with clubs when they just swap owners, swap managers. But this is a game I feel on paper and form we should be able to easily win at home. What's your thoughts going into the game tomorrow?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. Given the form we're in at the moment, I expect us to win, and it's a must-win again. I don't like using that word, but it is. Everton have picked up a bit of form with Sean Dyche since he took over from Frank Lampard. I think wins against very big wins for them against Arsenal and Brentford as well last week. So they've definitely got some quality in their squad to get these results. I saw an interesting statistic. Speaking a lot about statistics today, but last time we lost a fixture in March was against Everton in March 2019. So since March 2019, in the month of March, I think we've won every single one of our games, actually. So we're usually quite good in March, but
I'm not saying
sure there was a COVID year in there where we didn't play a lot of football, but yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think Potter's got to stick with the formations that have worked for him recently. We know that Mount, Sterling, they won't play a part tomorrow. Silva as well. Azpilicueta, I think, still not fully fit. Big decision to make with N'Golo Kante. Obviously, he's been fit for the last few weeks, but hasn't made a matchday squad yet. I think this is a perfect game for him to come back in, maybe get 15, 20 minutes off the bench, because you do want him up and running for those Madrid fixtures in April. We know what he's capable of doing in these Champions League knockout games, and maybe test out the midfield partnership with him and Enzo as well. But yeah, I think in terms of formation, I'd kind of stick with what's worked in the last few weeks. Maybe bring Badiashile back, give Cucurella a bit of a rest, or vice versa. Bring James back into the team if he's fit, but obviously have the option to maybe bring him off after 60 minutes or so and bring Loftus-Cheek at right wing back. Kai Havertz as well. I think we've been very critical of him, but again, I think he was very, very good against Leicester. His hold-up play was brilliant. His aerial ability as well. You know what he's capable of doing there. So I think he deserves to start with Felix and Madrid either side to him. But yeah, I'm expecting a win. I think we know how to score now as well, which seemed to be our big problem. So if we defend like we've done under Graham Potter and we find our shooting boots like we have in the last 2 or 3 weeks, then I think it's going to be a comfortable win.
Yeah, I like the fact you used the word comfortable, because I look at this on paper and I think this should be an easy 3 points, and not just 3 points, but this is where you hit the 40-point barrier in the league. If we win on tomorrow, we've got 40 points, which means we're actually safe from relegation technically. So I can shut up about relegation talk after 7 p.m. on a Saturday. But no, I agree with you in terms of the lineup. I think, some really good points. I think, be interesting if, I think from what Graham Pastor said at his press conference literally half an hour ago, I think he does want to stick with that back three. He wants to utilise the wider areas of the pitch in terms of Reece James, or if it's Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Chilwell. Interesting with Badiashile, because I do feel it was really harsh of him not to play against Leicester. I know he came on, but Cucurella done a really good job there. Really, really good job. So it'd be interesting, and I do think this is time to potentially rotate or stick with what has worked. Part of me saying yes to stick with what's worked, and maybe bring in a Badiashile, who's still relatively young. We have to remember we still have to manage his minutes as well, to make sure that he's not burnt out as well. But yeah, I mean, me personally, I would stick with the same lineup. Bring back Reece James, obviously, in terms of the right side of that wing back. But I think it's key, like you said. I think again, Potters just mentioned that N'Golo Kante is in with a chance to feature tomorrow, and I think he will. I think you're right. I think he has to build up his match fitness before Real Madrid, and that's only about 3 weeks, I think, maybe 3 or 4 weeks, just under 4 weeks away. So it's not really a lot of time, and you think you've got an international break in between that as well. And we really need N'Golo Kante back up and running. Pulisic, again, who came on against Leicester, I think he might feature with Sterling being out, but I'd stick with the, João Felix, Havertz and Mudryk up front. I'd stick with the two of Kovacic and Enzo Fernandez in the midfield, and the same back line. Personally, harsh on Badiashile, but I think, stick with what's worked. Get that consistency going, and then start trying to flip and rotate the squad slightly, tinker with it that way. But I'm expecting 3 points. The worry for me is obviously there's a lot of height in that defence for Everton. You look at Michael Keane, you look at Connor Cody, James Tarkowski, Ben Godfrey, Onana. So there's a lot of thinking about set pieces, free kicks. You do think, maybe they might be able to cause us some damage, but I'm looking 3 points. I think 3 points. And before we wrap up, as we do, predictions, scoreline. What are we going for?
We've done 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals. Can we do 4 goals now? Can we? I'm going to go with... I think Everton will score. I know we've been very solid defensively at Stamford Bridge, but I think, like you mentioned, that height in that Everton squad might nick them a goal from set pieces. But I'm kind of hoping as well, if we just find our shooting boots and Enzo performs like he did against Leicester, then we've got 3 goals in the locker. So I'm going to go 3-1 again for Chelsea.
I'm going to go 2-1. I'm going to go 2-1. I agree with you. I think, like I said, the set pieces will be a big thing for Everton. They obviously don't have a real clear striker. I think they'll be probably playing Damari Gray up front or Neil Maupay. But I think 2-1, I think we'll be able to literally control that game if we use the players in the right positions and go over back 3 as well. I think it'll be a good game for us. And obviously, like I said, it gets us that 40 points that we need to avoid relegation. So who knows? But let us know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to do that. Yeah, baby steps, beat Everton and win the fucking Champions League. They were the words of Graham Potter. So I was going to have to say it at some point. I can't have it as a title and not say it. But no, I think, we've got every right to feel confident off the back of the performances we've had the last couple of weeks. So let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And also make sure you hit that Linktree link in the description. It takes you to all our social accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, I think as well. I think we've set up a TikTok, although it's in its infancy. So I'm sure I did it one night when I was bored. I haven't really got around to doing it properly yet, but we will get the TikTok up and running at some point as well. Theo, as always, thank you very much for joining in the conversation.
Before we wrap up, just wanted to quickly mention, I'm sure a lot of Chelsea fans are aware, but a fan called Louis Palmieri passed away a few weeks ago on the 6th of March, actually, from a brain tumour, and there's going to be a nice round of applause for him in the 18th minute of tomorrow's game, because he was 18, and he will actually followed our Instagram page. I just wanted to give maybe tribute this episode to him, and I really hope there's a nice little tribute for him at Stamford Bridge tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. And hopefully, I didn't ask, but are you going tomorrow as well?
I am sat in the shed upper once again, which is my favourite spot at the moment.
Shed upper.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you'll be there at the 18th minute. Like Theo said, if you're going, make sure, you show, your condolences, share your thoughts. Yeah. It's a sad time for anyone of any age to lose their life in that way. So it's never easy, but yeah, anyone who's going, make sure you show you appreciate. 18th minute, I think you said, didn't you, Theo? So yeah, definitely. Even if you're not going to the game, make sure you do it as well, 100%. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. This has been episode 86 from the Shed End. Until next time, we'll be back next week with another one. Hopefully 3 points to cheer on Chelsea. We won't be back next week. We will, but we have something special for you guys next week, as there's no football. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, stay safe, all of that stuff. Until next time, thanks for watching.